Well, hello everyone and welcome to yet another Discussions with Dolf. And for those of you who saw my previous video right here from Budapest, Hungary, I talked about the Four Seasons Hotel, which is right now in front of me here, or behind you I guess, and I said that there was the Lion Bridge across the way from the Four Seasons Hotel, so I couldn't resist the temptation to show you this bridge. It is of course about 8:10 a.m. in the morning. It is peak rush hour traffic, and as you can see, this is a hustling and bustling city, but this is the view that you in fact get from the Four Seasons Hotel. And this is a very famous bridge. I don't know if you can make it out here, but you've got the two lions on this side of the river facing back towards the Pest side, and then on the other side you've got two lions facing the Buddha side. In fact, on the other side there's also a funicular rail car, very steep funicular, because it's got a cable that carries, as one goes up it pulls the other one down and vice versa. So very interesting structures. In fact, there's the castle on the other side. If you haven't been to Budapest, I strongly recommend you to come here. It's not Budapest over all these other cities. Many of these cities, especially in former Eastern Europe, Prague and Budapest, Bucharest, Montenegro, they are just absolutely stunning. And you also get great ideas for real estate and, dare I say it, great opportunities. Now, I don't suspect that many of my viewers want to come over here with a bag full of cash as a down payment and then do a deal over here. You've got language barriers and cultural barriers and laws that we don't understand. But there are tremendous opportunities here. And what I've seen is a wave of Western Europeans and others coming in here and taking advantage of it. In fact, I was talking with someone yesterday. We had meetings and they were saying how many billions of dollars had come here in the form of investment funds. And the real estate market has reflected that. Like any other part of the world, with the GFC, the global financial crisis, there was a tremendous downturn here. And you can also go to parts of Budapest and say, wow, that looks a bit dilapidated and run down, and how can people bother living in this drab environment? And I must admit that the suburbs do seem a little bit drab, but the parts of town here which you'd consider the central part of Budapest are absolutely stunning, stupendously stunning in terms of their architecture. All the different designs, you've got the neoclassical, the Gothic, you name it, it is here. In fact, there's a very interesting difference between Budapest and Prague, in that Budapest was quite seriously damaged by bombing during the Second World War, whereas Prague wasn't. The center of Prague apparently wasn't hit by a single bomb. Apparently that came from orders very high up in the German hierarchy not to bomb Prague. Anyway, the difference is quite noticeable. You'll walk down the street here and you'll see all these beautiful buildings from the 1910s and the 1920s, and then suddenly there's this concrete and glass monstrosity, in my view, from the 1950s or 1960s, and obviously the building in question was damaged during the war. The remains of it were torn down and it was replaced by a then contemporary style building. Whereas in Prague, of course, you don't get that. Every building is seemingly consistently of that same era and that same style. But that doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities in either place, and of course there are. And what I'm finding is, as these nations join the EU, as they did for some of them many years ago, Hungary joined, of course, a while ago, whereas Malta, I mentioned that and I sent videos from there at the time. It only joined a few years ago, and its currency only became unified with the euro, I think 2 or 3 years ago now. So anyway, as these events happen, there were tremendous opportunities in the real estate world, because when a country joins the EU, for instance, I guess now we're talking about countries leaving the EU with Brexit and whatnot, but when they join, suddenly their markets are opened up to a much greater variety of investors and people. And similarly, when their currency joins, and by the way, having said that, and I'll come back to that thought, having said that, Hungary, even though it's a member of the EU, does not have the euro as its currency. It's got its own florin still. But anyway, as countries joined the EU, the euro regime, as they adopted the currency, then that opened up the world to a lot more investing, because now investors didn't have to deal with an exchange rate risk. And you can't underestimate how important that is to people in deciding whether or not to invest. Anyway, from this absolutely bustling metropolis and stunningly beautiful city of Budapest, Hungary, once again we have run out of time, and until next time, I wish you, as usual, successful investing. Thank you very much.